So, hi everyone. I just wanted to, because I got a couple of emails about the grid of common points, I just wanted to go over it really quickly, show you some examples, show you how to set it up. So in general, the grid of common points is working off of your annotated bibliographies. So for this week, you should have handed in at least 6 annotated bibliographies. The annotated bibliography, of course, is going to include the source, an APA format, a summary of the source, and then you're telling me why or how that source is a good source, and also including a quote, I think. So this week you're synthesizing. That's what the grid of common points does. It's kind of figuring out, okay, you have this overarching topic, whatever your research topic is. If it's, some people are writing about suicide and social media. Some people are writing about the Afghanistan war. Some people are writing about climate change. So whatever your topic is, you're looking at these sources and you're figuring out, okay, so what are some common themes in these sources? What do these sources all agree on? What do these sources disagree on? What are some common themes that keep on popping up in terms of my research and my research question? So the first thing I'm going to do is just share my screen. And here are some rubrics, or I'm sorry, some common grid points from previous classes. So here she has her topic, the impact of colorism on African Americans and other marginalized groups in America. So this is the research topic, and she's trying to figure out, how has colorism impacted African Americans and these other marginalized groups. So here's how she sets up her grid. So here she has the authors, and she's just using their last name. So Data, Hochschild and Weaver, Matthews and Johnson, and Hunter. And here she has the overarching theme she's seeing. So socioeconomic differences, and then she's talking about this in relation to her topic. So income for Black women increases for every increases, the lighter you are, which is fascinating. And then so this is what Data says about it. This is what Hochschild and Weaver says about socioeconomic differences. This is what Matthew and Johnson says about it. This is what Hunter says about it. And again, she's going off of those sources she looked up and she read and she summarized from last week, which is your annotated bibliography. This is almost impossible to do unless you have the annotated bibliography. Then she moves on. Her next topic is criminal justice. And now, again, for each, and I can just look at it. So this is what that Data says. This is what her next author says, Hochschild and Weaver. This is what Matthews and Johnson says, and so on and so forth. So she has 5 authors that she's looking at, and she breaks it down into like 6 main ideas that she sees that keep popping up in her research, right? So socioeconomic differences, criminal justice, self-competency, employment and discrimination, and then the overall history. So what she does a good job with is that if you are going to take the time and tell me what each author says, then mark the page number for yourself, because again, when you begin writing and putting all this together, which you will do next week, you already have the page numbers or the paragraph numbers. So you don't have to go back and look them up. And so for every kind of point that she has a page number or a paragraph number, which will help immensely with her citation. So this is just one example, and hers is pretty detailed, so I wanted to start with hers. But other people did other things, and the big thing is that depending on your topic, let's see, you're going to have different things. And I should not be showing you the names, but I just wanted to show you. So here's Jose, and here's his synthesis grid. So he's a little bit more detailed too. He actually gives me the page, the year that it was published, which is great. He doesn't have to, but again, this is for him. He's setting it up. So again, here are the authors at the top, and his is about hackers, right? So he's talking about the benefits that hackers provide for the rest of us, like the good that computer hackers do in the world. And so factors that show how hacking and hackers are good. And so here he's talking, he's just pointing it out from each of the sources. He does not give the page number, and it's not required for this, but it's going to make it harder when he goes back and starts writing the lit review next week, because the lit review encompasses all these sources. It would be much easier for him if he just does the page number here. And then here's the next main idea that he's seeing over it, or the questions that he wants to ask or answers in terms of his research, what makes the hackers do what they do. And here is, what he says about it, how the hackers and hackers work, right? So he doesn't have as much, but this is still pretty detailed. So he has those 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. He puts all 6 here, but he only has 3 main ideas that he's looking at. So I say at the bare minimum, use at least 5 authors and at least 3 main ideas. 4 or 5 will be better, because just the more you break this down, the more you have to talk about. And also be aware that, maybe they won't say the same thing. Like maybe some of this, so maybe Higgins had nothing to say about what makes hackers do what they do. If Higgins has nothing to say about it, or you couldn't find anything that Higgins had to say about it, just leave that column blank, right? So you don't necessarily have to fill in each and every column, although the more columns you fill in, the better your life is as we look down the road. So this is just some examples, 2 examples that I think are pretty decent. The next thing I want to talk about is how you put columns in. So I'm working in Microsoft Word because I always work in Microsoft Word. If you have a CCP account, you can hit Microsoft Word through Canvas. Like you have access to Microsoft Word. But to do tables, all you're going to do is go to Insert, Table, Insert Table, and I'm going to have 5 and 5. Here are my tables. And as I write in them, they'll get bigger. But if you need it to be bigger to begin with, you can just go here and click on it and pull it down as needed. But as you write, the tables will move on their own. And make sure at the beginning, like that, you give me your topic. Like your research doesn't make any sense. I have to know the topic you're answering, or the research question you're trying to answer. So I'm going to stop my share. I think that's it. Again, nothing in this class is, everything builds on what happened previously. So the annotations built on your summary and research question, right? The literature, the grid of common points builds on your annotations, and then the literature review builds on your grid of common points. So we're actually writing this paper in stages. So that means that no one should be changing their topic, not in week 7. Like you pick a topic and you stick with it, because in 2 weeks, we start putting this all together. Like you have your introduction for your paper. Your introduction is your summary and research question. Once we get done with the literature review, which goes in next week, you'll have most of your body, and then we'll work on the conclusion as we kind of wrap up the class and tighten our outline a bit. So everything is kind of building on everything else. So I hope this was helpful. If not, if it's still like, what, just shoot me an email and I'll try to explain it or pop into my office hours. All right, take care. Good luck.